Alright, what is up YouTube? HPJ here, and I am coming at you guys with another discussion video because I'm going to go into more depth about the next master rule. And a lot of people are very excited about this master rule, and despite that, people are speculating that, oh, it's just going to be one-sided and it's only the OCG. Remember, a lot of the stuff from the OCG does come here, and they did officially confirm that on the same day as the OCG getting the new master rule, will be receiving the new master rule. So it's a lot to look out for. It really is. And as a TCG player, you really just got to get your wits together and get ready for what's to come. So a lot of things are getting prepared for the new master rule change. So if you don't know what the new master rule change, I will give you a brief summary of it. As of April of 2020, on the 1st, you will pretty much be allowed to special summon fusion, synchro, and exceed monsters from your extra deck without having to need the requirements of a link monster or being forced to put your monsters into the extra monster zone, meaning that you can summon those monsters freely to your main monster zone without those restrictions. If you are a link monster and or a pendulum monster who's face up in the extra deck, you still need and require a link monster to be present in the extra monster zone who has link markers pointing into the areas of the main monster zone in order for you to summon those monsters to the board. So this rule will be effective next year, right around the time we receive the next dual section of for the TCG. So it's a crazy thing to think that literally in the next 4 months we'll be receiving a new master rule or the change up to the last master rule. It's also the thing is people are speculating, okay, this is master rule 5, and some are saying no, this is just an update to master rule 4. It's master rule 4.1, which that's never really happened as far as I know in the game. It's always been master rule 1, 2, 3. We had 4, now here it is. I think this is honestly, might as well call it master rule 5. At this point, I think we need to just look at the decks that will be rising and will be coming through the cracks of this new master rule, because this is something that's going to affect both TCG and OCG, because now they've made it official. Both sides will be receiving this. So I honestly think and personally think I enjoy it. I think we're going to have a lot of decks and variations of decks, because I'm actually still planning on running a couple of decks that'll be coming soon, because I am going to look into Shadal. I'm still running Sky Striker, and of course Harpie will still be on the side. But I think the biggest shine will actually be the fact that I'm going to a fusion deck, and then it's Shadal of all things, which is also a thing because I love Shadal. I think Shadal is a great fusion setup and a great fusion concept. And not only that, but it can include Exceed, it can include Link, and it has great access to Synchron monsters because, of course, they have Shadal Falco, which is also funny because after these years of Shadal being out, why don't they have a Synchro monster? Like, there's no Synchro Shadal monster. There's a Link Shadal monster, there's Fusion Shadal monsters, and then all the extra deck monsters, but we still don't have. They even have a Pendulum monster because I think that Zephyra monster. Yeah, that's crazy how they have everything but a fusion and an exceed. And a synchro and exceed. But I think at that point don't force it. What they got it, don't knock it. It's still working out for them. And they recently just got construct back to 3. So yeah, it's a crazy amount of things going on with the game, because now we got to look at super polymerization, one of the biggest fusion cards in the game, having the access to fuse with not only your monsters but fuse your opponent's monsters away to make a fusion monster out of your extra deck. Benefits a deck like Shadal, it can benefit a deck like Heroes, because those are two of the biggest decks that have access to monsters who can use any attribute within the game to make a new monster and put that monster to the board. I've seen super polymerization counter a lot of things within both both Shadal and Hero, because those are two of the biggest fusion decks that honestly I think will survive a lot of changes and still get a lot of things to support them. Even when the link mechanic came, a lot of people were worried about Heroes because of the fact that that was one of the decks that benefited the most from having them access to a field that allowed them to put so many monsters onto the board. I mean, because Heroes were for the most part one of those decks that you seen them when a list came out, you seen them prosper, and then when they got new support, you knew they got new support, and people were going to be willing to try the new support to have fun with the new support. And I'm not just talking about elemental heroes. I'm talking about Destiny Hero. Evil Hero just got new support. And they got a ton of new support thanks to that last Legendary Duelist pack. I think that was Duelist Pack 5 because we're going to move on to Duelist Pack 6. And I think, honestly, when you look at Heroes and Shaddoll, you look at two fusion decks that have access to other sets of the game, it makes them grow. Now, as far as it goes for the whole aspect of it, yes, I think these two specific archetypes will have the biggest benefit from this restraint in terms of fusion. Now, in terms of Synchro, let's move over to Synchron. Synchron is going to be one of those decks that are rising to the occasion because of this. Because they were really heavily hit as well because they didn't have much room to do anything. And here in the TCG, we didn't have Crystal Needle Fiber. We won't get Crystal until May. I mean, not May, March of next year because of the new dual set that's coming out. Not dual devastation, dual power, they have so many dual now that you don't know which one is which. I know the last one was dual. I think it's dual generations. This one's gonna be called. I don't know. No, the last one was Dual Devastators. I bought like 3 of those boxes just because it had all the good stuff in it. But, the Dual series is going to come out next year. So we're going to have more support there. And Crystal Needle Fiber, who is a support card for the fusion, not the fusion, but for the Synchro monsters, will be coming out soon. And the thing about it is, even though with the name change, I will always refer to this monster as Crystal Needle Fiber. I think it's going to be called Crystal Haloquesius, or Haloquesius. I think that's what it's called. I'm going to call it Kriston Hal, because that's literally, there's no other way for me to try to pronounce the full name, so I'm just going to call it Kriston Hal, and be okay with it, because mostly you want the effects of this monster to be the reason why you play this card, and that's to get tuners onto the field, and then go into a Synchro monster. I believe Synchros are going to have the biggest jump because of this, and I think more Synchro decks similar to the Synchron base will jump up, because we're seeing Doppel Warrior decks jump back up. And a lot of people love Doppel Warrior because it was one of those decks that even through the exceeds, it was still sparking. Like, it still had a great flow to it. It didn't have, a lot of its major counterparts back within anymore, but it did have a large access of itself to within. And remember, Doppel Chaos was still running around because it had access to both Plant and Synchro. It had the Engine of Chaos still running through it. And look at all the massive Synchro monsters that it has access to. Black Rose Dragon, Stardust Dragon. We have Barrel Low Savage Dragon. We have Trishula back at 3, so they can even incorporate Trishula. We have all these big level 7s and 12s that they have access to. We have triple range with Hyper Librarian and Formula Synchron. So we can easily see the Formula Librarian strategy pop off again. I mean, this is going to be a great break for them because of the fact that these were one of the decks within the Synchro era that really sparked itself up and really had a lot of benefits to it. We can also look at other Synchro decks that were around and could flourish from this. Let's take a look at Dragoonity, because Dragoonity managed to still sort its way here, but not just as regular Dragoonity, but as Guard Dragon variants. They did take advantage of being Dragon, having Synchros, having Exceeds, having Link Monsters, and having a range wild aspect of itself to keep a lot of the things going with the variations of cards that it has access to. Even now with Tempest being added back to the game, the Rocket variation can really spark itself up now that there's no restrictions to where its monsters can go. You can just plop any of the monsters you need onto the board without those restrictions and have access to a lot of monsters to help support it. We also have to take a look and account now that people are going to be playing Dragoon of Red Eyes in their variations as well. Not just for Dragon variant decks. There's Shadal Dragoon decks going around. There's um, just a lot of variations of Dragoon of Red Eyes going around. There's a lot of variants of Red Eyes decks going around because people are going to really start incorporating this very beneficial monster and breakout star of the next duelist pack to be legendary duelist pack to be showing good stuff. Like no one really expected this to happen, but someone made it happen in the OCG, and people are willing to test it out. And people are already saying a lot of the support cards are starting to spike because of the fact that this card is going to be really good when it gets here in a couple of weeks. Actually, in about 2 or 3 weeks, because it's coming out on the 15th, I believe, of January. And the 15th of January at the time of recording is only a few weeks away. So I wouldn't, like I said, don't count anything out because everything and anything can easily spark itself up. It didn't take advantage of the mechanic itself being changed and in benefiting from that change. Now, let's take a look at Exceeds. And one of the big Exceed decks coming is, or being also speculated around, is Zodiac. Zodiac was a deck that right before the Link format killed it. It was one of the high tier decks in the game. It had so many different variations to itself that kept topping. You had the True Draco, Zodiac. You had the 60 card Zodiac. You had the Ignorations between Zodiac, True Draco, True King, and then you had the what was their name? Because I know Terra is one of those monsters. Oh, the Infernoids in their variation, because that deck was fusion based as well. And the crazy thing about it is that when you look at these decks that used to reign supreme, do you think they have enough strong setup to come back to it? Well, in the OCG, they just announced that they're unbanning Zodiac Dragon, who unfortunately due to similar programming, I can put Zodiac Dragon here, but I didn't get to manage the lures to get some of the other Zodiac Exceed monsters here, because we got to look at Tiger Mortar, and her setup to the deck, of course, is to put more monsters onto an Exceed monster, and then the putting something on top of a Zodiac monster in order for them to treat it as an Exceed summon, putting themselves on top of another one, to put themselves on top of another one, to stack on the multiple effects that the monster can be able to do with the multiple monsters attached to it. And I think this is also going to be a breakout if Trident comes to the TCG, which would be nice. It'd be nice to see, some more variety within the game, and to see can, a lot of older decks with a lot of buffs, both main and extra, due to new mechanics, get a lot more support and stabilize themselves with that support. I mean, people are going to probably laugh and say, oh no, that deck's not going to be good. But I mean, we've seen a lot of those decks get told that. And bam, here they come. Still fully in charge. I mean, if we're still going to go, now, since we're talking about crazy combination decks, let's actually take a look at Pendulum. Pendulum won't die from this. Pendulum is still going to be Pendulum. And Pendulum has a variation of monsters and archetypes that still benefit from it. One of those being, DD and Triple D that was circulating around at that time. I think this is honestly one of those that people who are fans of the archetype and were fans of the anime when it was introduced are very excited, because now they aren't restricted to having to need a Link monster, to happening to put all of their fusion, synchros, and exceeds onto the board and benefiting from each of them in their effects. I mean, because this is one of those archetypes that had multiples of those in the archetype itself and benefit from those monsters being together. Not to mention the fact they are pendulum based, so even though their pendulums are restricted to needing a Link monster or to having the area itself spanned out due to the Link monster's Link markers, I think this is honestly still going to be beneficial for them because of the fact that their synchros, fusions, and exceeds are restricted to just the extra monster zone or the need for a Link monster. Then also, to take it into the fusion account, we gotta look at Brilliant Fusion. We really have to look at Brilliant Fusion and the Brilliant Fusion setups, because Brilliant Fusion will be another card that spikes up because of this new rule. The fact that Brilliant Fusion can get Seraphonite, and we all know Seraphonite gets those additional normal summons. the fact that it will also reduce some chaos variations because it does send a light monster and a gem knight. The most part is gem knight garnet plus insert what probably trick clown or damage juggler just so that you can get their additional effects off. And then there goes spark some more monsters because you can get into some exceeds or some link monsters. Or you can get into some good synchro setups with those types of monsters. You never know what you can spark off of this and what conditional things can be sparked off of a card, which is why a lot of things can easily be said about them. If we're gonna go talk back to fusion, of course, we do know the Predator plants will help out with that, not only through the effects of Scorpio and Predator plant Dalacobra, but we also look at the fact that they have a link monster as well, and their link monster promotes fusion. So there's just more added fuel to that big fire that can easily be taken advantage of in how the game itself can produce. Now, if we also want to look into fusion in pendulum combinations, we can also look at Lunalight. Now, I know people are saying, well, this is not a really big spurt of a deck because it has to splash in Orcos. But we have seen Pure Lunalight do well. We've seen Pure Lunalight have a lot of benefits to it. So I like to see Pure Lunalight actually take advantage of the massive amount of cards that can be produced by this. Because I think honestly a lot of people would say that it's a good stretch out, it's a good reach for them, because they happen to have all these fusion monsters, and yet none of this archetype itself, did not get a variation of a link monster to support it. It had to use other link monsters in order for it to still keep that rate of fusion going. And their monsters are pretty broken. I mean, I've seen and read a lot of their effects. One protects itself from other effects. One does multiple attacks and inflicts damage. The other one just breaks boards. Like, I've seen some crazy things with the Lunalights. And for Lunalights to still jump off the way it did, one is a surprise. Two, it's not too surprising because of where it can reach itself. And it's a fusion deck during a link format that it shouldn't have had any big promise to, and it did. And a lot of people are practically excited about the change, especially the Lunalight players, because bam, you guys get the support that you wanted. And this is a major boost for you guys in terms of your playability within your extra deck and not having to be restricted to so many things yourself. Then we do have to talk about the link monsters and the link decks that are still going. I think two of the biggest ones still are the Orcos and, of course, Sky Striker. Now, we don't know at the time of this recording what the TCG list will look like. We don't know how much of an impact it would take the list to do for these two specific archetypes, but we do know with the future sets coming and Sky Strikers getting future support, I still think they will still be okay with the change. I think they just have a lot more to combat than normal, and I don't see these really falling off unless major support within their own archetype gets hit, and then that sparks more chaos of its own. But I think at a point, don't count Pendulum out, don't count Exceed out, Link out, and don't count Pendulum out because of them still being restricted to having to need a Link monster for their massive expansions, or still having to have Link monster to get Link monster to put Link monster on the board. I mean, we've always assumed that was going to continue to be a thing, but for the fact that Synchros, fusions, and exceeds are not restricted to that anymore is a blessing and a curse in one. So, looking at it as an aspect, I think a lot of things can easily be beneficial. A lot of benefits and stuff can change due to the Master Rule change itself. I don't know what the future can hold, but at this time, I look at a lot of these cards that I have here in front of you guys and a lot of the combinations that can potentially happen because of the benefits that will happen to them when April 1st gets here. So let me know what you guys think of the new Master Rule and the new Master Rule's change. Do you think it's a new Master Rule? Would you call it 5? Or do you call it Master Rule 4.1 and then say, okay, this is all the new stuff that's going to happen to it? Because we don't know yet if what's going to be set in stone till it's ready to be set in stone. But I'm really excited for it. I'm really excited to see what decks come out of it. And I hope you guys are as well. So let me know in the comment section what you guys think about it, and let me know how you guys feel about what's to come with this new change. So don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will catch you guys next time. Thanks everybody for your support. Keep watching. HPJ signing out. Take care.